Hello and welcome to another edition of the Gator Spotlight Series here on the Sports Lab ESPN 98.1 FM 850 AM WRUF. My name's Ethan Ibe, and it is an honor and a pleasure to be joined by the Dean of the College of Journalism and Communications, Hub Brown. Thank you so much for being here.
It's great to be here.
Absolutely, and a lot to talk about today. A lot of sports things. This is a fun conversation.
I know.
But we'll start with this. This is a question I always like to ask at the top. What's something that's brought you joy outside of the workplace this week?
Oh, well, you know, the Fed cut their rates 0.5%.
Okay, so we're already going there.
We're doing the economy thing. And so, I think that there's good implications for a lot of folks out there with regards to that. It's a good sign for the economy. And when there's a good sign for the economy, it's a good sign for the college and university.
Okay, so some people say that they like to play with their dogs. Some people say, I went for a walk in the park. You like the economy.
I like the economy.
That's a good
I played with my dog, though, today.
Okay,
this week, though, too, so, yeah.
What's your dog's name?
Oh, his name is Domino. Domino is a Havanese, so he's about 13-pound dog, and he's an old man dog. He's like 13 years old. He'll be 13 next month.
That's amazing.
So,
I've got a 17-year-old dog back home,
Ooh,
so
there you go.
We're riding that one out. So no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's get to some sports topics,
sure,
though. I know you're a big sports guy, so growing up, what were your teams? What are your teams now as well?
Yeah. It kind of evolves over time. It's very interesting. I mean, and yes, I am a bit of a sports guy. I like a lot of different kinds of sports. And I think sports really, number one, it is a chance to sort of escape things, but also sports say a lot about who we are as a society. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that happened back in the day and still to this very day. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and so I'm a Midwesterner through and through. And that really did govern a lot of what I, looked at as far as sports were concerned. I was a big fan of Nebraska's football team at University of Nebraska, the Huskers.
Yep.
And that was long before I wound up going to the university. I have 2 degrees from there now. But I remember, see, the thing about that is you gain your sports allegiances in lots of ways as a kid, and a lot of times it's hanging out with your folks. My father used to fix cars a lot, on the weekends when he was, from his job in a meat packing plant in Omaha. And he knew how to just take a car apart and put it back together. But he always had to have the radio on. And on the radio was the Nebraska football broadcast on Saturday afternoons. And I listened to a guy who has long departed us, a guy named Lyle Bremser, who described the plays, and it was like you were there. And it was the most fascinating thing in the world to me. And it's probably one of the things that sort of got me involved in broadcasting, though I never really went into sports. And so, yeah, I think that was a big part of it for me. It was Nebraska football, and that was one of my earlier allegiances, but also, the teams out there, the Kansas City Royals, the AAA team is in Omaha. The
Storm Chasers?
Now the Storm Chasers, used to be the Omaha Royals.
Mm-hmm.
And so those guys, and for me, baseball came later in life. I was in high school by the time I was really much of a baseball fan. And that was sort of the beginning of when things were really starting to ramp up in the Kansas City Royals organization, in the days of George Brett and, players like that. And so that was a lot of fun as well. So it was around the local teams, and it was a whole lot of fun. And now some of those have evolved to different things.
Sure. That speaks a lot to my own story as well, because I am a play-by-play broadcaster.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. That's what I've been doing ever since I got to UF, connecting audiences with these stories, with these athletes and their seasons. So that's pretty cool that you had a similar experience growing up. What about some of the athletes that you idolized growing up? Who were on the posters of Hub Brown's childhood bedroom? Who were those guys?
Childhood bedroom. Oh my goodness. I was a lot. There were a lot of great ones. Back in the day. Certainly, Brett was one of those. Gosh, there were so many that I think of. I think of some of the football players: Johnny Rogers, Jerry Taggy. Some of the Nebraska football players in those days, but also just a sort of a variety of things. And like I said, getting into baseball was one of the bigger ones. So.
That's amazing. What does a game day look like for you? A Gator game day? What is the dean doing, for a Gator home game? What's your start to finish like?
I have a lot of official things that I'm doing on a game day, because very often, and I really enjoy game days here. One of the things about being in Gator Nation right now is that folks really do. They're really passionate about this, and even though we have ups and downs as far as the team's concerned, I think this is still a fan base that is just amazing in its support, and it's very, very fun to watch. And so oftentimes on game days, we are hosting alumni, because we want to make sure we're having relationships, good, positive relationships with our alumni out there, talking to them about what we're doing in the College of Journalism and Communications. We kind of walk them through places, so they'll see things like this studio, they'll see our Atlas Lab and all the other things. And also just giving them a chance to have a place to kind of, chill a little bit, have some conversations, talk with folks. And so we'll do that here in the college. And then oftentimes we'll walk over to the stadium together, and we'll see the game. Some people will have seats in the stadium itself. Some people will be in the president's box. And so we're always there to sort of make sure that they're having a good time, that they're having a memorable, positive time about being back on campus, no matter what the outcome of the game is.
That's right. But then you got your NFL Sundays. That was more relaxed for you. You actually get to kick back and have some fun.
NFL Sundays are generally more relaxed. A weekend ago, though, I mean, it was we had a home game here, and then the next day I was meeting with potential donors in Miami.
Wow.
At the stadium at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, which was kind of a bit of a whirlwind, because we flew down to talk to them and flew back that night.
Wow.
And quite a bit of time you want to go to where folks are, and you want to be able to have meaningful conversations, so that's what you do.
Cool. Let's go back to the sports fan in you.
Yes.
Can you recall the most memorable sporting event that you've ever attended? College or pro or any sporting event?
The most memorable sporting event that I ever attended. Oh my goodness, there's a whole lot of things that are going to be.
If you had to pick the cream of the crop here, it was a big play or something that you only saw one time, be it a player too that you got to witness.
Oh my goodness. One of the last fumble Rooskies ever done.
Oh my goodness.
It was a Nebraska versus Colorado football game. It was sold out in Lincoln. It was on Halloween night, so everyone was crazy anyway. And they called the guard around play. So the quarterback left the ball on the field. The guard came around, picked it up, and ran for a touchdown.
Wow.
And so it was really crazy. And at the time, Nebraska, there was a bit of bad blood, let's just say, between Nebraska and Colorado. And there were a lot of Nebraska fans who were there who wanted to see a rout. And they got themselves a rout that night.
Wow.
And even though the score was going up into the 40s and 50s, nobody left.
Wow, how about that? That's amazing.
And it was a wild and crazy night. So that certainly is one of them. But I've gotten a chance to see some really fun events out there. I was near courtside at Wimbledon one time.
Wow.
And some great soccer matches, football matches. That's one of the things that's new about my sports allegiances now. I'm a big fan of the Arsenal Football Club of North London.
Nice to meet you, sir. I'm also a Gooner right here. That is amazing. What a coincidence.
Indeed.
Did you just watch the Hotspur victory on Sunday?
I did watch the victory against Spurs, and it made my weekend.
It made my weekend too. I'm so glad we have that in common. That really is amazing.
There you go.
So I'll flip, the other side of the coin then.
Yeah.
Is there any sporting event that you would want to go back in time and attend, or maybe something in the future? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's oh my goodness, big sporting event that I would like to go to at some time. I would love to see El Clasico in Barcelona.
Wow, that would be.
That would be amazing. That would be a whole lot of fun, and I think that it's such a great, it's such a great monumental event in the culture of the country that you want to sort of absorb that. You want to get a sense of that. And so, any one of the great soccer powers out there, it would be great, to be at one of those home games, to be at Bayern and Munich, or Dortmund, Those are places where people take their their sport seriously, and there's tremendous energy around it. And so, yeah, one of those would be fun.
Who would have thought the dean was such a big soccer fan? I never could have guessed that one. You also a big basketball guy?
Somewhat of a big basketball guy, yes.
Okay. So
probably more college than pro,
Okay.
Ironically, but yeah.
Okay, well, I'll put you on the spot here then.
Okay.
This is your choice. You can do this for college or the NBA.
Okay.
Your personal starting five. What would it be?
Ooh, my personal starting five. Oh goodness, that's a big one. So I'm going to have LeBron in there.
That's fair. Of course.
I'm going to have Steph in there. Boy, I don't know. Maybe Embiid. Goodness, who else would I put in there? That's a great question. I think if you had those three,
you're already pretty good.
The other two, forget about it. You're just whoever you want to put in there.
Yeah,
is great.
Okay,
you can put me in there.
Okay, why not?
Well, no, let's not do that.
How about we put let's put Seth Harper, Jeff Thompson in there as well.
There you go.
Guys,
there you go. Especially Seth.
Exactly.
I'd pay money to see that.
Oh, come on. Our INC basketball game from a year ago, he was the head coach of the winning team. Just wanted to point that out there.
Very good.
So
absolutely.
He's got the credentials. I'll ask you a somewhat similar question.
Okay.
Football related.
Football related.
So let's say 2 minutes left, fourth quarter, Super Bowl, and your team is down by a touchdown. Which quarterback are you going with to lead you to victory? Who's going to march down the field and get you that Super Bowl ring? No, I know I'm putting you on the spot there as well.
That's a great question as well. Who's my quarterback to lead down the field in a situation like that? Boy, I tell you what. He may not have had the best time this last game around. It's still a decent time, but I'd still probably go with Mahomes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone that I've ever asked that question to has said Tom Brady, but I do respect Mahomes as a choice there. So
I like Brady. I've always liked Brady, but I'm thinking sort of more of the way offenses and defenses are moving around right now, and how he is more suited to the game now, I think, than a whole lot of other people out there.
Gotcha. One more similar question to, let's go back to your days at Nebraska.
Yeah.
Born and raised there, educated there, and you taught there as well. You've gotten to witness, a lot of terrific years of Nebraska Cornhusker football. I imagine growing up, you watched, Bob Davaney's groups win a couple of national championships. And then you have Tom Osborne in the 90s with 3 national championships as well. So my question to you is, which coach are you picking to lead your college football team? If you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one. Bob Devaney was a pretty amazing coach, and he knew how to get the most out of the players, and he was the one who took that program from obscurity to a national power. But Tom Osborne kept it there for a quarter century. And
so it's Tom Osborne.
So I'm thinking it's Tom Osborne.
Okay, good stuff there. Go a little bit off the sports track for just a moment. This will maybe give us a little more of a deeper dive into who the dean is.
Okay.
Musicals. You had to go back, or not musicals, but a musical act. You had to go back in time.
Musical act.
Any musical act, concert, or even musicals as a whole, would you choose to go back in time and watch?
I'd want to see Otis Redding live.
That's a really good choice right there. I respect that.
I would want to see Otis Redding.
Yeah.
He wasn't even beginning to hit his stride before we lost him, and he was an amazing, powerful singer, and he would turn the place out. I know that.
I was recently turned into a vinyl fan this summer by a good friend of mine, and one of the tracks that he would spin on that vinyl was Otis Redding, and that was a real nice vibe to have around the living room. So
absolutely,
massive respect there.
Absolutely.
Let's get into more of the journalism side of things as well. We're here as sports journalists. I'm a senior here at this college. I've received so many great opportunities, whether it be the sports lab, play-by-play, or anything else, and a lot of my colleagues here as well. So when you consider sports storytelling as a whole, athletes in this day and age want to have their stories told. So what is your opinion on the current state of that, and how important it is what we do as sports storytellers?
I think sports storytelling is a field of real opportunity right now. One of the things that we've done an awful lot here is to take a good hard look at where we can expand that field of opportunity. To give students more and a bigger variety of different types of experiences out there. I think that there's so much right now in terms of good storytelling, around athletes, but also around the fans and the fan bases. What motivates a community to get behind the team, and what motivates them to call for changes sometimes, and to do those sorts of things, and where sports has power to sort of move communities one way or another. Those are good stories as well. I think that, and so I think there's a great, big, huge opportunity to tell those, and to tell how these individuals, these athletes, these franchises are relating to those communities, and having that relationship with the community, as well as being able to sort of go from beginning, middle, and end of a season and manage that. And so it's so there's a lot of different things you can do with that, and a lot of different conversations that we can have, and a lot of different ways to bring the public into that conversation. That's going to be important. And so we want to be in those places as a college, giving students meaningful experiences in sort of all those different types of areas in terms of storytelling. And sports is very motivational in a lot of other ways too. We see sports in the College of Journalism and Communications as not just something that's within journalism and within play-by-play and reporting and things like that, but also in the persuasive side of the house, in strategic communication, in public relations and advertising, because sports is a way to grow the relationship of brands to the public, and we've seen a lot of that. And so I think that there's ample opportunity there as well to have more of an elevated conversation, and so that's what we're building now. So what you see now is, this is the snapshot, but what it's going to be later on is going to be even bigger.
That's some really great stuff right there, and that's something that I take to heart, and I try to put into practice every single day that we're out here. Every day is an opportunity. We get to come to the INC. We get to do some really incredible stuff, whether it's hosting a show, conducting a live broadcast, going out into the community, and reporting on these stories. So that's something I take to heart. And when you consider that as well, the opportunity of the sports lab to be able to have a dozen students, of all different ages, come in here and for 2 hours twice a week, get on a live radio and be able to share their opinions, their takes, and kind of stir the pot as far as Gator Nation is concerned, and all the topics that are relevant for Gator sports fans. Right. So that was an opportunity that, yes, we helped create for ourselves, but you were instrumental in that, in helping to get us where we wanted to go. So almost, maybe 6 months into this adventure, what have you seen from us? How far do you feel like we have come, and where do you think we can go?
Oh, wow, that's really good. Great question. What I've seen, and what I have to say, what I've been really fortunate to see, what it's a privilege to see, is students taking an idea and just running with it. I mean, you're the equivalent of the I formation toss sweep around the corner, and you're still going down the field, and I think it's been really impressive, because what happened there was the students took responsibility for an idea, the future growth of that idea, and just put together a plan and executed it, and it was tremendously impressive to see students doing that. And where it's going to go, I think Sports Lab has been a great program. It's been a lot of fun to watch students get in there and people, really mix it up and just have some good, conversations about the issues of the day. That's just one thing. We can maybe come up with other things. We can come up with other different kinds of opportunities. We just want to make sure that as we do that we continue to have a sort of a good, group of students who are going through there and keeping that alive and keeping the conversation alive. Those are the things that are going to be very, very important going forward. If the students want to do it, we're going to try to find a way to make it happen.
That's absolutely right. I appreciate you saying that. We've tried to take this as far as we can take it. I'm one of the last original few that a lot of people graduate from that group last year, but we've got some incredible folks coming in, and those that will be here after us to keep it going.
And that's going to be key, is just keep that pipeline going. This is how pipelines start. This is how programs get reputations for certain kinds of things, certain kinds of activities, and the things that students may want to go to that program for, is to keep the pipeline alive, so that students in high school are listening to what's going on Sports Lab and saying, you know what, I kind of want to be there. And it does yield dividends very, very quickly over time.
And that's kind of the same vein of thought that I had with my Orange and Blue Sports Network for our play-by-play students as well.
Exactly.
Same, concept of starting something new, seeing if it will survive, and getting students to believe in that mission.
Absolutely.
And the cycle continues.
And the cycle continues.
As it should.
I did come to this place from Syracuse University, and they've had a very long tradition of sports broadcasters there, as I'm sure you well know. The Bob Costas's, Mike Tirico's, and those kinds of guys. And I know that what they had in common was that there was always somebody ahead of them saying, no, you want to be there. And they kept that pipeline going. That is what we are doing here. We're going to build it, and pretty soon you'll see a lot of folks who are sort of mentioned in that same kind of vein who will be coming from Florida.
Hopefully you're talking to one of them right now. You never know. You never know.
I think I am.
Hey. I appreciate your time, Dean Brown. I do have one final question for you.
Sure.
Decades are defined by dynasties. You've got the Steelers of the 70s, the Lakers and the Niners of the 80s, the Bulls of the 90s, Patriots in the 2000s, Golden State in the 2010s. So my question to you, Dean Brown, when you consider the sports at CJC department as a whole, how will this department define this decade? Where do you want it to be at the end of the 2020s?
Wow, that's a great question. I think this decade will be defined by the rise of student entrepreneurialism around these things. The can-do attitude that, hey, here's an idea, let's go see if this will work, let's figure this out. The beginnings of being really creative around the types of ways that that sports journalists, that interviewers can interact with the public and with those athletes in ways that bring things to the public that they didn't know they wanted to hear until they heard them. That's the rise of this, and I think this, if we're talking about a decade that's going to be very, very important in terms of sports journalism at the University of Florida, the 2020s will be seen as a very significant decade in that.
Well, Dean Brown, I appreciate your time. You've given some terrific answers. And as always, thank you for your support and everything that we do, from getting the Sports Lab off the ground to everything that is to come. So that'll do it for our episode of the Spotlight Series here on the Sports Lab. Dean Brown, thanks again.
Thank you.